crew chief for next year? Is it going to continue to be Adam Stevens?
Why be stupid and ask me a question like that right now?
Well, that question ended up being a good one, didn't it? So if you did not hear the news, Kyle Busch and Adam Stevens, who have been together for 6 seasons and have 2 championships together, will be splitting up next year and for the future. Yesterday, we had some shocking news with John Hunter Nemechek leaving Front Row Motorsports. Today, we continue with more earth-shattering news. Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch, arguably the greatest, or the best, I should say, driver-crew chief combo in the garage, has split up. We look at some more dynamic duos that have been split up over the past few years. We saw in 2018, Hendrick Motorsports split up Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus. Last year, Cole Pearn retired, so Cole Pearn and Martin Truex Jr. were no longer together. We saw the Penske swap all the way around, so those duos of Keselowski, Wolff, and Logano Gordon got broken up. So we've seen a lot of crew chief driver duos get broken up in the past couple of years that have been very successful. And they weren't as successful as Johnson and Knaus, but they were arguably the second most successful duo. They first joined forces back in 2015. Remember, Kyle Busch did miss the first 11 races of the 2015 season after his injury at Daytona, and Adam Stevens was supposed to be the crew chief that year. Before him, I think it was Dave Rogers, the top of the 18 pit box, but Stevens took over. They won 5 or 6 races that year, and they won the race at Homestead to win the 2015 championship. So they started off really strong, to say the least. They won a championship. They started off with a 100% championship percentage, and they made it to the Final Four every single year except for this year together as a duo. 2016, they made it to the Final Four. 2017, they were battling Martin Truex Jr. for the championship but fell up short. 2018, they had, 8 or 9 wins together and fell short of the championship there to Logano. And 2019, they won the championship again with 5 wins. I mean, to say they had a successful few years is an understatement. They had an amazing few years. This has been some of the best years of Kyle Busch's career, and Adam Stevens has been a major part of that. He's put together some great cars. He's made some great calls and races, and they've won a ton. In fact, they've won 28 races together. 28 in 6 years. That's almost like 4 wins a year. That's insane. I mean, Kyle Busch is a great driver. He's an all-time great, but that's still a pretty impressive mark, 4 wins a year. Now, this year was an off year, and I'm sure this year was the final nail in the coffin, as whatever his name would say. But yeah, they had a rough year. They made it to the playoffs still. They only had a couple playoff points entering the playoffs, and they got eliminated in the round of 12, but they did get a win at Texas. That ended up being their last win together as a driver-crew chief combo. But it's been a rough 70 or so races, I think it is. I think they've won 2 races in the last 70. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's somewhere in that range. Maybe it's 2 in the last 60. I can't remember the exact number, but their most 2 recent wins were Texas this past fall, just a few weeks ago, and Homestead, Miami last year to clinch the championship. Other than that, they haven't won since June of 2019 together, other than those 2 wins. So, yes, they've been in a little bit of a drought, but they still have won a championship in 2 races since then, and they've still made the playoffs and made it to the round of 12. I think this is a bad decision by Joe Gibbs Racing. We've seen Joe Gibbs Racing make some very quick decisions in the past. We've seen them boot drivers out. We've seen them switch things up. An example, Joey Logano, they booted out pretty quickly. They booted out just this year Eric Jones, only in his 3rd season with Joe Gibbs Racing. We've seen them boot out Daniel Suarez. So they've been known to make some pretty quick major decisions over at Joe Gibbs Racing before. So this is not a major surprise that they made a very quick decision based on what's the result of something. But at the same time, I'm shocked that they split up their best duo. Kyle Busch and Adam Stevens have been great together. Yeah, they've had a rough year and a half. So what? Every team goes through a rough patch. Every driver has a rough patch in their career. Look at Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus, their last 2 years together weren't great. They had 3 wins at the beginning of 2017. The rest of 2017 was awful, and 2018 was awful for their standards. And yeah, they ended up splitting up, but that's because there was a supposed inner rift or something. I can't remember the exact terminology. So unless there was something internal that we missed, I think this is a bad decision. Straight up, I think this is a bad decision. They've won a lot. They've won recently. They've only been together for 6 years. I think they could have overcome it. I mean, it's Kyle Busch, who's a great driver, and Adam Stevens, who's a great crew chief. I think that's they could have gone on forever. Now, where is Adam Stevens going in the future? He will be crew chiefing the number 20 car next year of Christopher Bell. That's right, Christopher Bell, the young driver who is going to replace Eric Jones in 2021. Adam Stevens will be the crew chief over there, so he's going to be going to the 20 team now. With that crew and that young driver, it will be his second year in the Cup Series, his first full-time year with Joe Gibbs Racing, even though he raced with the Joe Gibbs affiliate team, Levine Family Racing, last year. Bell will be in his first full year of actual Joe Gibbs, full-on Joe Gibbs equipment, I guess you could say. And Adam Stevens moving over there. Yeah, from that perspective, I guess you could say moving your veteran championship, two-time champion crew chief over to the young driver is a great idea. Like what they did at Hendrick. They moved Knaus to William Byron, which I thought was going to be a long-term kind of help Hendrick's future kind of thing. And then Knaus got moved to a different role. But anyways, it's not like Kyle Busch is old. Kyle Busch is what, like 30, 35, 36 years old, something like that. So it's not like Kyle Busch is old and close to retirement. Jimmy Johnson was in his 40s, I think, when him and Knaus split. So Jimmy Johnson was getting old, and it ended up being the right call to move Knaus because Jimmy, retired after this year. But yeah, this Stevens-Busch split, I'm not a... I mean, I guess if you're a Gibbs fan for the future, you're optimistic, but Kyle Busch is only 35 years old. He's still young. He's still got a lot of years to race. He's still got a lot of winning to do. So to split that duo up, I'm not a fan of it, just to be blatantly honest. Usually I kind of give both sides, but I mean, as I said, the bright side I guess you could look at is it's good for the future of Joe Gibbs Racing. If you're looking at Adam Stevens and Christopher Bell, you got your young driver, and then you got your two-time championship crew chief. But we've seen Gibbs boot guys out before. Look at Eric Jones. Look at Daniel Suarez. If Bell can't get it going in a couple of years, who's going to be in that seat next? Harrison Burton? Gibbs really, they run these guys for short periods of times, and if you don't do enough, you're out. Remember before the 2017 or 2018 or 2019, one of the years that Denny Hamlin did bad in 2018 or 2018, I think it was, he did bad, and everyone was rumoring that he was going to be out of the 11 car at the end of 2019, and then he went on and won like 10 races and made it to the championship four, and they were like, yeah, we'll keep him. And, he had another great year this year, so that's not happening, but dude, it's a common theme at Joe Gibbs Racing to boot out people when they do good. Or not when they do good, when they have a couple of bad years or a bad year. So that's why I'm not a fan of this move. I think it was a really quick and rash decision that they shouldn't have made. But this is their best duo. I think Gabehart and Hamlin is a really good duo still. So I'm glad they kept that together. But I don't like splitting up a two-time champion duo in Busch and Stevens. And it's not like the Johnson Knaus. It's not like they've been together 15 years. They've only been together 6 years. They have a 33% winning percentage when it comes to championships, and it's in this format. That's pretty impressive, if you ask me. And they made it to the Final Four all but 1 year. That's really impressive. I don't think anyone else has done that. And actually, there are other people who have done that. Kevin Harvick, and they're still together. Harvick and Childers are still together. Truex and Pern would still be together if Pern didn't retire. It's not like they got them split up intentionally. Pern wanted to retire. I don't know what this is. I don't know why they did it, but I don't like this decision, just to be blatantly honest with you. I really don't. As for the rest of the lineup, Hamlin and Truex still have the same crew chiefs. Denny Hamlin and Chris Gabehart will be together for a while, especially if they keep up this level of winning. This year they had 7. Last year they had 6 or 7. So they're going to be together a while. I think Gabehart's done a great job with that team, and Hamlin's obviously a Hall of Fame driver, so that duo works out really well. As for Truex and Small, if they don't do good next year, we're going to be back again talking about another crew chief switch because good old Joe Gibbs Racing is gonna boot out Small and put someone else on top of the pit box. But this first year for them was not that great for Martin Truex Jr. standards. they've just had a bad year straight up for their standards. Round of 8 elimination and only 1 win. I think not having practice and qualifying definitely hurt them for their first year together, as we saw with many other teams in their first years together. So I think that next year's a really big year for them. They know what it's like going into a race without practice or qualifying. They're going to have some more races to have practice and qualifying. So I think next year's going to be a big year for that duo and see how they do in the future. But yeah, if they don't do well next year, we know what's going to happen. And as I said, Bell and Stevens, and then Kyle Busch's new crew chief will be Ben Beshore. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Someone correct me in the comments, but it's spelled Beshore. That is how you spell it. It's Beshore. Like, if you're spelling it out, it's Beshore. Anyways, enough with this pronunciation. This is not a grammar class. Here's what Joe Gibbs had to say on the split. We believe our crew chief lineup for 2021 will best position each team and driver for success across both series. Okay. They also switched up the Xfinity. I'll tell you that in a minute, but there was just something else I wanted to look at real quick. I think Beshore, whatever we're going to call him, was the crew chief for Harrison Burton this past season. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But according to Bob Pockers, he was a former engineer with Kyle Busch and Cup. They won 4 of their 7 races together in Xfinity in 2019. So it was a successful pairing in the Xfinity Series. But once again, Kyle Busch basically wins everything in Xfinity Series unless it's 2020. So, I mean, what are we going to do about that? Anyways, as for the rest of it, the Xfinity Series and the lineup, crew chief lineup for Joe Gibbs Racing is now going to be the 20 car will be Jason Ratcliffe. He was the crew chief for Christopher Bell this past season, I believe. And then also Dave Rogers, he used to be the crew chief for Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch. He will be the crew chief for Daniel Hemrick in the 18 car. And then the 19's crew chief will be Jeff Mindering. He will be the crew chief for Brandon Jones. And then the 54 car will have different drivers all year. And Chris Gale will be the crew chief there. So that is your major crew chief shakeup at Joe Gibbs Racing. The championship duo of Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch has officially split up, leaving only Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick as the last two, the big dynamic duo remaining. I guess if Elliott and Gustafson can win a lot more races and win another championship, maybe they can be up there in that talk, and we can add on to that list. But right now, I'm going to say that Harvick and Childers is now officially the best driver crew chief combo in the garage since 2018. We've seen Knaus and Johnson split up. We've seen Pern and Truex split up. We've seen Wolf Keselowski break up, and we've seen Gordon Logano break up. And now we have seen Stevens and Busch break up. So lots of major changes when it comes to drivers and crew chiefs. That seems to be a common theme in NASCAR, but another common theme in Joe Gibbs Racing. You got a bad year? Move on. Change something up. Other than that, I got nothing for you today. Have a great rest of your day. Like, subscribe, share, and all that. And yeah.